Is Brazil safe? Mostly not safe. You need to be careful. You cannot just relax completely. You need to have some sixth sense to survive in Brazil. It depends on where you live. If you live in a good place, you can just rest assured that you won't see some bad stuff. Like if you live in a bad place, like my place, Northeast, is one of the most dangerous cities in the world. So you can see some dead people on the streets, like murder. You can see murder, real life, and you can hear the bullets and see the murder and see the dead people. And this is quite common. Also, the robbery is really common. So no talking with the phone on the streets. In my experience, I've experienced some really scary things because actually my hometown is close to one of the most dangerous cities in the world. The murder is the biggest cause. But the thing about this is that even though the rating is so high, you can actually survive there and actually have a good life sometimes, because the problem about this is the gangs. They have some factions in Brazil, criminal factions, and they sell drugs and guns and they fight each other for power, and that makes like the murder rate so high. So there are some cases of like robbery and killing, but my personal experience, I've never experienced robbery. I had some friends who experienced robbery. I mean, mostly all of them experienced robbery, but I've never experienced, because I am careful. So you just need to be really careful. But if you live in a good area in Brazil, you can be safe. Families, they raise the children to be really careful since they're a child. So you subconsciously know how to behave and how to survive and what to do, what not to do. There's always this feeling like, I need to survive. Like when you go to some place, you always think, if something happens, I can hide somewhere or I can protect myself somewhere. So there's always this really bad feeling like, I'm not safe, like survival mode. This is like our mind in Brazil all the time. So we're so vigilant all the time about, oh, who's there? Oh, what is that sound? Because that's how you were raised, to be really careful how to survive. This is not a good feeling. When you go to a different country, like a safe country, you don't feel like that. I mean, you just can relax completely. You can get drunk on the streets, but in Brazil, if you drink, you need to be so careful. Like not to be too drunken, because someone can just steal from you or do some bad things from you, especially a woman. In my hometown, I've seen some really terrible things, like people who just freshly died from bullets and knives, but mostly bullets. And you go on the streets and you find some dead people on the floor with some blood coming out of their body, and they're still dying. So that's a common sin in some places in Brazil, and you need to be careful not to die in those shootings, because sometimes when they're about to kill someone, they just shoot everywhere. And if you're close to someone, you don't know. Some people in Brazil are criminals, but you don't know they're criminals. They just do things and hide, and they have families and everything, and you don't know they're criminals, but out of nowhere someone comes and kills them. So you need to be careful with who you have friendships, because if you're close to someone who is dangerous and you don't know, so, the other criminal comes to kill them and you can die yourself. That's so really common to happen. Even though Brazil is a dangerous place in some areas, for example, about the robbery, if you don't wear some expensive things on the streets and if you're careful about what you're carrying, you can walk safely. If you're a woman, you cannot go to dark places. And about the crimes, just don't relate yourself to criminals. And that's kind of easy. Just don't relate yourself with drugs or with criminals, and don't do anything bad, and you will survive, because mostly people who die in Brazil, like taking off the street robbery and stuff and murder. But the most part of the people who die in Brazil, they are criminals. They are from the factions and the gangs. So that's how people in Brazil live comfortably. They just careful about where they go, how they walk, and they don't relate themselves with crime. And that's how you survive there. Survival guide in Brazil. First, just don't wear jewelry and don't walk with your cell phone. Second, choose the best area to walk with a lot of people. Don't walk on alleys. Third, don't take things too lightly. Some people are really dangerous, so just look at their vibe. You can notice sometimes their vibe. If they're dangerous, some other Brazilian people will come to you. They're really nice. They'll come to you and say, oh, don't go to this place. Don't do this thing, because we know like the locals. So speak with the locals and ask them, oh, what is the most dangerous place here? How can I do this? And you will be just fine.